Get everybody, thanks for stopping by. Just out here shooting some B-roll of this Novsight camp light. Figured this is as good a place to do a review as any. I'm going to call it the Novsight rechargeable camp light. If you jump on the Novsight website, hang on for this one, typical Chinese naming, the square LED rechargeable magnetic rotating work light kit with pot hook for camping off-road. That's what this is called. It's a camp light, it's a rechargeable camp light. It's got a number of pretty cool functions up its sleeve. At the moment I've got a whole bunch of different products that I'm just trying to get through. And there is a heap of Pajero stuff coming up, I promise. So most basically, it's a camp light. It's a rechargeable base camp light, something like 13,500 milliamps, so 13.5 amp hours worth of battery in this. So it's a big size battery, which means you're getting lots and lots of time out of this. With all the usage that I've got with this, I'm yet to run it flat. When I get it home and I get the opportunity, I recharge it, and the fact that it's got a USB-C charge port on the bottom to recharge it is just excellent. I like the fact that everything's going to USB-C now. When I run into micro USB or mini USB, I'm not happy these days, especially on a new product. So in addition to having a USB-C charging, you've also got a USB-A out port. So if you want to use this for charging your phones or something, or just use it as a battery bank, you can do that as well. I see more value in maintaining that battery for the use with the light rather than charging my phones and things like that. When this initially turned up, I took it out of the box, the unmarked box, very brown box, very just plain Jane. And I took it out and I looked at it, and my initial impressions were, Jesus, this is solid, it's nice and heavy, it feels like a good bit of kit, and then I put it away with the intentions of not doing the review until I had the opportunity to get away and use this for camping. And I certainly took this away and used this for camping, and it was bloody brilliant, I'll just say that now. Cheers. Then I say it saved my ass, but I've gone into the toilet and had my headlamp, and so I've just put that on warm, turned it up, and sat it on the floor in front of me, so it lit up the whole toilet, which was good. And as I've sat down, pulled my pants down, sat down, and there's a big Huntsman on the front of the bowl.
Oh, nice.
And so like my pants were down below it, and I thought I can't flick it because it's going to end up in my pants. So I stood up and
got out the way,
got the toilet paper and flicked him off. So hopefully you can see me. I'm in bed in the back of the Pajero. This is camp mode. It's just a little bit bright. I mean, that's on its lowest setting. It'd be nice if it just went a little, about half this brightness even would be good. So I actually turn that off. You'll see there is a little ring that glows in the dark. And whilst it doesn't provide a lot of light, once you put the cover back on, it doesn't do a bad job. But what I've found is I'm using this in a whole bunch of different places that I just wouldn't have expected to use it. Let's be honest, you can get into Supercheap and you can buy like a $10 magnetic light that you can stick on the side of your car. This is at the complete other end of the spectrum. And we'll get it out of the way now. This is around about 150 bucks Australian, so it's not a cheap light. One thing that I found it awesome for was if I'm backing into my driveway, or my gate on my driveway is really, really narrow. And when I'm backing in there at night, I've got to have a number of goes to get it lined up. Street's really narrow, driveway's really narrow. It's a pain in the backside to get in. And at night, when you can't see the tail lights and I don't have any markers on the trailer, it's quite difficult for me to see where that trailer is, backing in, trying to get into that driveway. So what I do is I just go and get this, and I put the little red light on, and then I sit that on the back corner of the trailer, and now I can see where the corner of the trailer is. The trailer's metal, obviously, this is magnetic, slap it on top, and away you go. I also do sometimes just stick it on the guards, depending which side I'm coming in or where I'm backing in. I'll just go and throw this up on the guard like a little marker light, side marker light, and it works out, so I can move it around the trailer as required. Of course, I've used it for camping, and I've got to tell you, when I was walking back to camp and I was playing with this and checking it out, I accidentally hit Steve in the face with the light, and you'll hear his comment here.
Yeah, you talk to your naval light thing.
Me naval light thing. That's with the cap off.
That's actually stupidly bright.
It's stupidly bright, isn't it? So as you can see, this thing puts out a heap of light, an absolute heap of light. So let's just cover off some specs while we've got it here, and I can look at my phone because I'm not going to remember these. So it's basically 1500 lumens output. On the web page it does say 1500 lumens, but if you scroll down later on it says 1000 lumens. So somewhere between 1000 and 1500 lumens. Now I'm going to say Novsight, there's also some other conflicts on your website that need to be addressing. It does say the power source is 321 700 batteries and it's 13,500 milliamp hours, but if you scroll down the page it says battery capacity is 5,200 milliamp hours. So there's some inconsistencies there. All I can tell you from my personal usage, and that's realistically, I don't care what the numbers say, realistically all I care about is what it does when I'm using it. And at this stage I haven't been able, like running this sort of, you know, all night camping, running around pointing at people, what you do when you've got a new toy, you know, playing with it. I haven't been able to get this down to below 2 lights. So I've been using this regularly, you know, over a number of different days, taking it out, hanging with metal detecting, sticking it on sides of cars, playing with it on trailers, with my kayaks. This is awesome on the front of your kayak, by the way. I'm yet to go below 2 lights on the 4 lights that's on the bottom of the unit itself that shows you the battery capacity. So it's probably closer to the 13,000 rather than the 5,000. Not entirely sure on that one. So it's IPX5 rated as far as waterproofing goes. It does mean that you can leave it out in the rain. I've been waiting for a rain to throw it out in, just haven't had the opportunity. With this you could leave it out in the rain, you know, hose it off or whatever when you get home. But you don't want to be submerging this one. This one can't go underwater. It's happy to leave out in the rain and it'll be fine. I've got to tell you, this thing is rugged as. Aluminium case, obviously, aluminium and plastic combination, and this thing is solid as. So it looks like you get different run times depending on whether you've got the warm light or the cool light on. There's only about an hour or two between it. If you're running it on low, you're going to get around about 38 hours of this, so you know you're going to get at least a couple of days of, you know, night work. If you're running it on high, you're bringing it down to about 5.5 hours, 6 hours. But with this sitting in the middle of a soccer field and me walking to the other end, so half the length of a soccer field, you can see the sheer amount of light this thing was putting out. So we'll put that down there. See how much more light we're putting out here. You can see that cone of light right there. There you go. I think you can see that now. There's our little light sitting right in the middle of the frame. Much more light now we turned all the way up. Now keep in mind that is just the single cool LED that we've got on. Like you can hang it down like a lantern beside you, and that works okay as far as, you know, just being able to walk along and see, you know, in front of you where you're going. But if you want to use it for walking purposes and moving about, if you take the diffuser off, you've obviously got access to the light, and this is the best way you would use it if you are looking to walk around and use it as a camp light or a torch. Very handy, and the amount of output on this thing is ridiculous. I was walking around a campsite, you know, just holding it like this. The handle comes quite handy when you're carrying it around, you know, and I'm pointing this thing around and it's lighting up the whole campsite, and everybody's already in bed. It wasn't late, granted, but everybody had already gone to bed. It was cold, it was wet, all the firewood up there was wet, so everybody went to bed. And here I am walking around with me light, testing it, you know, pointing at things, lighting up the entire campsite. It was absolutely awesome. You've got a number of different LEDs in here. You've got a cool white and you've got a warm white. 2 dials on the bottom, which allows you to infinitely control the cool white and the warm white, or any combination thereof, so you can choose whichever color you want. In this configuration, it operates basically like a torch. Again, you've got access to your cool white or your warm white, however bright or however dull you want that to be. As far as sitting it down at campsite or just lighting up a general area, you want to throw on the diffuser, which just screws on, and then it becomes just like a lantern. You know, you sit it down on the table, or you sit it down on the ground, whatever the case may be, and it's going to light up the general area. Nifty little stand on the bottom, rotates 180 degrees. That mainly comes in handy when you're sticking this magnetically on the side of something, and then you can rotate that up and down and angle that, especially if you're not using it in lantern mode. Like if you're using that in torch mode and you stick that up on the side of the car, you can get that light where you need that to go. Really handy under the bonnet of a car, for example. If you have a car that doesn't have an aluminium hood like the Pajero does, so that's no good to me. But if you're in a situation where you can't use the magnet aspect, it does have a little hook as well. So there's plenty of options as far as mounting goes. On the bottom, in addition to the magnet,
You've also got the 1/4-20 as well, so you can screw this on top of a tripod, set this up in a room. And this really handy as far as a camera light, just chucking this down in front of the camera where you're sitting right now, turning it on, and I can adjust obviously the intensity and the color of that light, so that works well as far as if you're a creator or if you're looking to do shooting. Out in the back, when I'm shooting video reviews, again, I'm finding I'm just using this as an auxiliary light. Mentioned about on the trailer, mentioned about shooting the weddings, obviously camping. This thing has been brilliant in the car. This thing now sits at the back door of my house, right inside the back door, and anytime I need to go out and I need a light, this is what I'm grabbing. I'm actually finding that I'm grabbing this rather than my headlamps now. I'm just finding it super handy, much more handy than I expected it to be honest. I will admit I'm struggling to see $150 in it though. It's rugged, it's robust, it's unique. It's got the torch as well as the diffuser, so I guess it's multi-use there. I guess if I was going to buy a torch, just a torch on its own, like a good branded torch, like a torch brand that I knew and that I trusted, with this sort of output, it would probably be easily over $100, I reckon, easily. I've certainly had camping lanterns in the past, like those cheap $15 things that had the shitty old LEDs, from Kmart. This thing outdoes those hands down, like it's not even a competition. I'd probably wait for it to go on sale, but I'd do that with most things now. I just noticed that everything seems to come on sale, and I think if you have a look on their website at the moment, they've got a summer sale on, which I think will get you about $15-20 off. So it's going to bring it down to around about $130. I'll be much more comfortable with that. The fact that how much I've been using it would justify, I guess, the $150 alone. I'm going to have to leave that one in your court. You're going to have to figure this one out for yourself. So things I'd like to change. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of this clip, albeit that useful in some situations. I think it could probably be a little bit more useful. Maybe give me somewhere like a tie point that I could run a strap or something through it, or hook something onto it. The red light, really like the red light. As someone who likes their astronomy, does a little bit of astral photography every now and then once in a blue moon, haven't done it for years, having a red light like that on a light is absolutely brilliant for maintaining your night vision and not upsetting any other astronomers that have got their telescope set up around you. I would like to see this LED, this red LED, be under the diffuser. Where I was playing around with it, and I put up some footage here, and I put that light under the diffuser, it was just that much more usable. Would like to see it just a little bit, to be able to go a little bit duller. As mentioned, just where we were using it inside the car like that. I think there's situations where you will use this where you will want it to be just that little bit less bright. And none of those things really affect the performance or how the light works or what they tell you it's going to do on the website. I'm literally taking this everywhere with me. If it wasn't for the $150, I would have several of these. I'd have one of these in each of my cars, and I'd have another one at home. But that's only $500 worth of lights for 3 lights. My recommendation is wait for them to come on sale, and then snap up a couple. Definitely going to get myself another one for just leaving in the camp kit, because this one's going to stay at home. Just FYI, if you don't know, I've worked with Novsight in the past, still running the Novsight lights on the front of the Commodore for going to work. Review up there if you want to have a look at those. So that's the Novsight Square LED rechargeable magnetic rotating work light kit with pot hook for camping off-road. FYI, you can also buy these in a kit with a tripod as well, if that's your thing. Thanks very much for stopping by. I look forward to catching you on the next one. Cheers. As far as this light goes itself, if you're looking at one of these, my only advice is don't just think of it as a camp light. The amount of things I've used this for, I can just throw it anywhere, and just the fact that it runs so long, it gets so bright, and I can just use it for anything. Don't limit yourself to thinking this just as a camp light. That's all I'm saying, because I've been using it for everything, and I mean everything.